Hey, welcome to Crush Your Mountain. I am Henry Gaskins, your host, and I am so happy this time today because I have a marvelous conversation that I'm about to share with you with fitness trainer Michelle Moore. Now, listen, this lady is a powerhouse in the industry. She's here in the city of Cape Myrtles, the town of Cape Myrtles, which is Andrew, North Carolina, and we connected through the Chamber of Commerce. And in this discussion, we're going to talk about getting the body you want, where we may not be satisfied with how we look, but let us not be intimidated by all those individuals who just have those classic bodies. So we're going to cover certain things such as what sort of realistic body composition for average people. Why do we need protein for our diet? What does that do for us? What other sources of protein are there besides beef or meat? Why BMI, the body mass index, isn't the best way? And then what does eating mindfully mean? How is that going to help you? And a lot of other questions too. So this is more abbreviated. We have a longer version that's going to be in the private group room. But if you want to see that, you're welcome to that. You just come and join the Facebook group. But in the meantime, listen, we're going to have a special announcement as to something that's happening in the area that Michelle and I are collaborating on with a number of other individuals. Stay tuned to the end to hear about that. And stay tuned and please enjoy this particular episode of Crush Your Mountain with my friend and partner, Michelle Moore. Hey, Michelle, it's great to have you on finally. Welcome to Crush Your Mountain.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So tell us a little bit, when we think about body composition, what are realistic and healthy body composition goals for someone who wants to prioritize strength, longevity, energy, and overall wellness as opposed to appearance?
Well, you have a good point. Everybody's body is different. Some people are taller, some people are shorter. So looking at a body image, if you're 5'9" and The Rock is 6'2", you're clearly not going to have the same body type. So everybody's body metabolizes food differently. We're all created uniquely, and so what we eat, what we consume, how our body operates with that, how we exercise, all those are going to be unique to an individual, which is why I love personal training. I love group fitness as well, but the personal training, you get to focus on that individual person's
Mm-hmm.
needs.
Mm-hmm.
So it is individual to the person. In order to build body mass, of course, you're going to have to do a lot of strength training. You're going to have to eat a lot of protein, lean proteins, increase your vegetables. And like I said, it's going to depend. Everybody's body is different. So how much of that you need is going to be depend on your body type.
Yeah, sounds makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Now you mentioned protein, so let's touch on that. We are in a carbohydrate-driven world. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I was listening to one podcast earlier today, and a doctor was talking about cancer of all things, and
Mm-hmm.
he started basically hinting at the likelihood that sugar itself feeds cancers, glucose
Right.
feeds cancers, and therefore having lots of carbohydrates drive cancers. But why do we need a protein? What would be the focus of protein? And suppose somebody craves something sweet. How do we mitigate?
Right. So you have a valid point, and all carbohydrates are not created equal.
Mhm.
So, for instance, a slice of whole grain bread is not the same as a slice of pie or a slice of cake.
Mhm.
So, carbs are created differently, and it is important to have them because carbs are your energy. But you asked about protein. So, protein is what builds our muscles and our bones. So, we need those to have our foundation. So, a lot of times we do have a lot of carbs in our diet and we're not getting enough whole vegetables, whole, healthy, lean proteins. And I also have a specialization in plant-based diet. So a lot of times we think of protein, we immediately think of meats, which is like in the standard American diet, it is. It's all those different meats. You can get protein also from legumes and beans and tofu, and broccoli has protein in it. So there's lots of different ways to get protein. And within that protein, there's amino acids and tofu and stuff. And all those things work to get your body strong, to build that muscle, to strengthen those bones.
Exactly. And when I work with my clients, many of the thing I focus on is on a variety of
Hmm.
proteins. But the idea is to build things up. So it's usually after they have the workout, I want to have them to kind of put in the protein beforehand. And,
Right.
and the idea is again to have something for the cells to build off of. How could a person accurately measure changes in body composition without becoming overly concerned or overly fixated on numbers like weight or BMI? That's a big one, BMI, body mass index.
Correct. BMI is a big one. And so BMI is not completely evil, but it's not
Right.
completely accurate. Because
Right.
if we go back to The Rock, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
on a BMI chart, he would be considered obese. Now we see him,
Mm-hmm.
there's not an ounce of body fat on him. So clearly he's not obese. So that's where the BMI chart fails. It doesn't consider all body compositions. So what I use with my clients is not your typical scale, it's a body composition scale. So I have a smaller one because I have to carry it with me. There's different types. There's like the inline, the Staiku, and many other ones. So your body composition, there's lots of different ways to measure it. So it's not just measuring the number on the scale. It's not just measuring your weight. It's looking at your skeletal mass, your body fat percentage, your water content. It measures multiple things. So the body composition scale, the way it works is it looks at your height, your weight. It uses electrodes to like feel like how much, that's how it can tell like it looks at your height, your weight, water content and all those different things. And then it'll give you your ideal weight, which might not necessarily fall into that BMI chart. Like for instance, the first time I used the inline, it said that my ideal body weight is actually above, I would be considered in the overweight range on the BMI chart because I have a lot of muscle mass and bone density. So those weight body composition scales are much more accurate than a BMI scale would be. So I always tell my clients, you're more than a number. So don't look at that number on the scale necessarily. And another thing is, muscle is more dense than fat.
Right.
So the scale, when you get closer to your goal weight, you might not see those drops like you did at the beginning. And that's because you're gaining muscle and losing fat, but your clothes will fit better and you'll feel better. And that body composition scale is going to show where you're gaining muscle and losing that body fat percentage. So lots of things go into it, way more than just that number on the scale.
Yeah. The important thing is, especially now that we're looking at the end of the year, people, or we might be airing this at the beginning of the year, and
Right.
people might are thinking now about the New Year's resolution. They're going to change everything up. They're going to go ahead and get their body back. They're going to look good in their jeans, etc. They're going to have the beach body. Can everyone have the quintessential, or at least the media-driven beach body?
Everybody's body's different, but you can definitely reach your goals, but it's got to be a lifelong,
Mhm.
sustainable lifestyle change.
Yes.
There are no quick fixes. So you can't just take like Ozempic or whatever, all those semaglutide, I can never say the word right, but all those, Ozempics or Manjaro, or those different um medications or fat loss pills or appetite suppressants, they're temporary. You really have to make a lifestyle change and make permanent changes to the way you eat, your lifestyle as far as exercising and moving around and just making those healthy choices. If you do those, you can have a permanent weight loss for the rest of your life. and maintain a healthy weight for your body type. And it's going to look different for everybody. And everybody has different goals. Like in the gym, I see there are bodybuilders that do competitions.
Mhm.
A lot of times with those diets, they are at an extreme deficit in nutrition and it can have lifelong effects. So their goal is for a temporary, this particular competition or whatever. So maintaining that type of body muscle mass and stuff, it's it could be healthy, it could not be. It depends on the way you're doing it. And some people can have a healthy lifestyle and maintain that body mass and those muscles like that. But it has to be done in a healthy way, not through steroids, not through quick fixes, not through a poor nutrition. So, and to gain muscle mass like that, it's gonna require a lot of time in the gym, a lot of bodybuilding, and a lot of dedication. So, and everybody doesn't want to be buff and have muscles like that. Some people just want to have tone, lean, healthy bodies. So it just kind of depends on your goals. And
Yeah. Now you mentioned Ozempic, and these GLP-1 inhibitors, the semaglutide,
Mhm.
GLP-1 agonist, basically, uh, the challenge is that on the one hand, people call them quick fixes, uh,
Mhm.
because over the course of time you do lose the weight. But you see, that's the
Right.
problem with these things. The body is a unit, and it's a function unit. You and I, we know these things. We study these.
Right.
We live these things. And so let's just think about this for one moment, especially when you reach my ripe old age. I'll be 61 in March. It's amazing. Don't tell nobody. You didn't hear it from me. You and the thing is that as you get past 30, you start to lose muscle. That's
Correct.
sarcopenia. And as you hit 40, by that time, you've actually lost a lot of more muscle unless you've done things to maintain it. Now, let's just say the person who is, they're not morbidly obese in the sense that you can see them falling all over their clothes, a lot of their clothes and things like that.
Hmm.
And let me be clear, Ozempic is needed for individuals who are not going to be able to just get up and lose the weight. So so it serves its purpose. It does.
Correct.
Manjaro serves a purpose.
Hmm.
Wegovy serves the purpose. However, we have to understand that once the weight starts coming off, you see the body does not respond to, let's just say, the loss or gain of fat. What do I mean
Right.
by that? When you build muscle, your body actually responds in order to support it. So your bones get stronger. That's it.
Exactly.
So now what happens is many of these people, they start to lose the weight. They don't take the time to exercise. They don't build up the muscle. And now
Right.
losing both the fat and the muscle, and that sarcopenia almost accelerates. And so you wind up seeing
Yeah.
people, okay, at first they look great, then they look good, and then all of a sudden they look older than they should be looking because now
Exactly.
losing it, you see? And so,
Hmm.
when you're working with individuals who are on Ozempic, who are on Wegovy, Manjaro, et cetera, what steps, how can we ease them into a muscle preserving and then muscle
Hmm.
building program?
Excellent question. So I am a type 2 diabetic also. That's how I decided to get into personal training, nutrition, and wellness coaching. I decided to reclaim my life. I was I lost 80 pounds. I was extremely overweight and I started multiple diets because there's all kinds of fad diets out there. And I was able to lose weight. My cholesterol was out through the roof though. But so I've had to learn different ways to find what works for my body and healthy ways to maintain. And so that's why I decided to do this to help other people. And so Manjaro, Ozempic, those do have they can be beneficial. But for the person that just doesn't want to exercise and still wants to have their cake and eat it too, it's not going to work because as soon as you get off that medication, you're going to gain all the weight back. And like you said, it can cause muscle loss. So not only are you going to gain the weight back, you're going to lose muscle, you're going to lose bone density because in order for your bones to be strong, you have to have those muscles. So my clients that do use like a Wegovy or Ozempic, I make sure that they are following a healthy nutrition pattern, that they're getting the protein they need, they're getting the nutrients they need, they're having enough vegetables and all those healthy foods, and that they learn a healthy eating lifestyle. And on top of that, we work on increasing their muscle mass. There's a lot of strength training. And you had a good point. As we age, we do start to lose muscle. So it becomes more and more important to do more strength training. And so, like with the communities, some of the gyms I work with are like one is a 55 plus community. We do a lot of strength training in there. We'll do a little bit of cardio, but I am all about the strength training because in order for our bones to stay strong, we need our muscles to stay strong. That's what makes other bones strong because it forces them to work more. If we don't have that strong muscle mass, we're going to start losing muscle mass, bone density, and then we become weaker and frailer. And that's when you're more prone to accidents and injuries.
Yeah, absolutely. And that makes me think about that old commercial. It's sad. It's sad, okay, because it became a point of comedy. But it's so very true because I've seen it when I was in the nursing homes, when I was in the hospitals, when I was working with the elderly directly. A lot of the times you come into the room and you see the person on the floor and they've
Mm-hmm.
been there for hours. Why? Because they don't have the strength to pull themselves up. Why don't they have
Right.
the strength to pull themselves up? Because they do not have the muscle mass to support themselves. Many times I tell this story all the time about the beautiful Nona who's there and she's in her kitchen. She might be making some bread or some pasta for her family. And then all of a sudden she takes a step and snap, the hip breaks. Why?
Right.
Again, she may have put on the pounds, but she hasn't put on the muscle, maintained the muscle. So
Right.
many times and you tell me how that works for you. Many of my clients, they are kind of, you have to ease them into it. So at the kitchen, while they're in the kitchen, I have them kind of hold on to the sink and just learn
Mm-hmm.
to do some squats first so that they can kind of get their mind right with it, get their form right with it, and then start to do those things, maybe 5, then move it up to 10, maybe do another about 15, and see how that works. Because the base, the legs, that's very important. Most of your muscle that's used often, the most muscle often is in your legs. So that's one of the things I like to do. So, I love talking to somebody when we're sitting there on the same page. You see, that's the cool thing about this discussion. So, how, we talked a little bit about nutrition. Could you
Mm-hmm.
give us some practical meal planning tips for maintaining that balance and just say, talk about your plate. What does Michelle Moore eat?
So the simplest way I've been able to tell to like what's it called the cliff notes or whatever, the easiest way I can explain how your plate should be, look at your plate, split it up into quarters. Half of that plate should be green vegetables, a quarter of it protein, a quarter of it healthy carbs. And that's like the simplest way. If people try to stick to that, it's not exact, but it gives them a better idea. Where previously their plate may have been a plate of spaghetti with some sauce on
Yeah.
it. So if they look at it that way, and I'll tell them, you can have seconds if you want, but you still have to follow that rule. So a half of your plate is those green veggies, then your protein and your carbs. Because if you're truly hungry, you're going to eat the healthy foods too. If you're just wanting more of the pasta or a piece of cake or whatever, then you're not really hungry. You're just satisfying that urge.
Mm.
So that's kind of the simplest guideline I give them to follow.
People think in terms of losing weight and exercise as a thing that they have to tackle. But
Mm-hmm.
realistically, if we take these simple hacks and then ultimately understand that it's about loving the body that we were given.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at ourselves in the mirror, are we happy with what we see? And understand that being happy with what we see is not because we have washboard abs, or not
Correct.
because we've got, you know, those big biceps or shoulders and everything else. Okay. If you're consistent and you do it over a period of time, those things can come. And if you want to target those things, you can do that. That's fine too. But understand that our bodies are made to function and operate in the best way. It's
Right.
how we live our lives that make
Right.
all the difference. You see?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we, in terms of that, you and I have are working on an event,
Mm-hmm.
and even though it doesn't involve food directly, it does involve things that lead to better digestion, and it's a natural thing. Could you talk about it for a little bit?
Yeah, so one of my favorite things, moving away from nutrition and back into the world of fitness is walking. I find peace in walking and just not on a treadmill. Maybe 30 minutes on the treadmill and I'm bored and I'm ready to move on. But just being in nature, just breathing in the fresh air, absorbing like all the things happening around, the animals. Some of the parks have like the ducks and the geese that are around, and just being a part of nature and just soaking all that in. And a lot of times we don't get that. We're either sitting in front of electronics, or we're sitting in a car, or we're sitting in an office, we're sitting inside. And that's why most of the country, if not all of the country, is vitamin D deficient, because we're not getting outside, we're not absorbing that sunlight. And that's the best way to get our vitamin D, is by being outside exposed to the sun. And we're stuck inside a lot. So I think what we're doing is going to be amazing. Just absorbing the nature and just appreciating every
Yeah,
step along the way.
absolutely. And the Japanese have a word for that, and it's called Shinrin Yoku. And basically, it means forest bathing, immersing ourselves in the environment of the forest, walking through. And in this case, it's not a hike where we're kind of, getting our pulse up, pulse rate, heart rate up, and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
This now is an opportunity for anyone who has been dealing with stress during the week to actually come out and engage in something that can lower your stress levels tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be teaching, first of all, we're going to be doing the meditative walk in the forest so that we can actually teach a person how to engage their senses in such a way so that they're connected and they're not focused on self, but focused on creation.
Mm-hmm.
And that in itself is powerful. We'll be teaching some beautiful breath work techniques that will help individuals. You can walk away with that. You're going to walk away with a lot of different things. And by the time this rolls out in a few weeks, there's going to be a journal that you can download that you'll be able to take with you, bring with you to the event. And you can use it even afterwards. Because what we want you to be able to do is to focus on the sensation of self with the sunlight, sensation of self, the awareness of self with the person next to you, understanding the energies that are coming out of you and how it connects with nature. All those things are very important. We'll do some
Mm-hmm.
movement that comes from some of the ancient Chinese traditions, so many different things. And so we're looking forward to that. And Michelle, I'm so honored that to have you on me on this journey in particular. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that after the show as well to help others. So, Michelle,
Mm-hmm.
I've got this one last question for you. And I ask this of all my guests. Michelle Moore, what does it mean to you to crush your mountain?
Oh, I've been thinking about that. What does it mean to crush my mountain? So I feel like life is a journey. It has its ups and downs, curves, highs and lows. And so crushing your mountain is kind of like that journey.
Mhm.
You're going up, you're gonna finally get that. And when you get to that the summit, so to speak, like those people that are climbing Mount Everest and stuff, it's like that's when you get there and you're like, you can breathe. Well, although when you're at that altitude, you probably can't breathe well, but but it's like, just feeling that like, hey, I did this. I crushed it. I crushed it, and just having that inner peace. It's not about doing it for someone else. When you're looking at appearances and oh, I want to look buff and strong, you're doing that for someone else. You're a lot of times you're doing that so the other people see you a certain way. But when you're doing it for your own health, your own wellness, when you're focusing on your breath, your self-care, your nutrition, your health overall, that's when you're crushing it. When you're doing it for yourself, for that intrinsic well-being and your own self-love, because you can't love others properly, others can't love you properly until you love yourself, and that's when you've really crushed it.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So that's the takeaway, really, because all of us have the a goal of being better. And, I just really, I'm so grateful that we had the time to talk a little bit about things. You're very strong physically, but also in heart, you see. So we have a clear Michelle strong heart, you know,
I love it.
you
Thank
know,
you.
and we look forward to working a little bit more with you. And folks, again, keep your eyes open on Instagram, on YouTube, of course, and
Mhm.
Facebook. You can always come to our Facebook pages. We're there. And Michelle, what is your Instagram handle? Do you have an Instagram handle?
So you can find me Michelle Moore Fitness, Nutrition, and Wellness on Facebook. And I think it's Michelle Moore Fitness. I'm not sure if it was the whole thing on my Instagram. I can't remember honestly off the top of my head. I'm also my personal is M More Blessed. So I'm not, I've got my business and my personal one. So um, but you can also, like you said, find me at the Andrew Chamber of Commerce Monday and Wednesdays nights teaching Pilates, where we can focus on combining our mind, body, and breath to build stronger selves. So, but yeah, if you find me on my Facebook, Michelle Moore Fitness, Nutrition, and Wellness, my Instagram links and my website are all on there as well.
Excellent, excellent. So, guys, again, if you're in the triangle, come to Andrew and come down and check Michelle out. Also, keep an eye out for our date. We're shooting for the 17th of May. So if you're available, it's going to be at Raven Rock State Park down in Lillington, North Carolina. This place is beautiful. And you'll just have hopefully we'll just have a really nice time to really absorb nature, to learn and to connect. So until that time, I'm going to tell, like I always say at the end of the show, friends, don't just climb your mountain, crush through it. And we'll see you next time. Take care, Michelle.
Thank you.